The United States fires a missile like this at an Iraqi air defense site but misses the target. Iraq is calling it an act of unjustified aggression.
The woman who secretly recorded tape sparked the Monica Lewinsky investigation goes before a Washington grand jury.
And United States President Bill Clinton taking in the sights in China and reaching out to the Chinese people.
This is WorldView with CNN's Bernard Shaw and Judy Woodruff in Washington.
And thank you for joining us. Iraq is strongly denying that one of its missile sites locked on 4 British warplanes Tuesday in the no-fly zone over southern Iraq. The United States says a U.S. attack jet fired a missile at the site after the British jets were illuminated by Iraqi radar, signaling an intention to fire. CNN's military affairs correspondent Jamie McIntyre has more.
The policy for protecting Allied planes patrolling the no-fly zones over Iraq is shoot first, ask questions later. So when 4 British Tornado fighters patrolling near Basra in the southern no-fly zone radioed that cockpit alarm showed they were being targeted by an Iraqi missile radar, the response was automatic. A specially armed U.S. F-16 rolled in, firing a radar-seeking HARM missile. Pentagon sources say the missile missed, apparently because the threatening radar was shut off. Iraq claims the missile hit a complex of civilian water tanks.
The American pilot followed long-established rules of engagement that allow for coalition pilots to take prudent defensive actions when they consider themselves to be threatened.
It's been almost 2 years since U.S. planes last fired on Iraqi radars. Then, as now, Iraq denied targeting Allied planes and called the U.S. the aggressor.
Today's attack was unwarranted. The Iraqi radar was not active.
The U.S. says it's treating the incident as an isolated event, not sending any more forces to the region nor increasing the level of alert. The reason? Iraq appears to be making no other threatening moves.
We have not seen them moving their radars and tracking systems around in any sort of aggressive fashion, so it might be a situation of an isolated example.
One possible explanation. Iraq wants to draw attention away from the evidence of nerve gas-tipped warheads recently uncovered by UN inspectors, a discovery that embarrassed Iraq and effectively killed its chances for sanctions relief.
It might be that the Iraqis are trying to provoke a crisis over the no-fly zones, which are much more controversial, to try to deflect attention away from their setback on the weapons of mass destruction fronts.
Now, some Pentagon analysts have another theory, that Iraq might have turned on its radars in response to bitter rival Iran moving some short-range ballistic missiles closer to the Iran-Iraq border. Iraq may suspect that Iran is planning a cross-border raid against some rebel camps. And the missile radars, might have been aimed more at detecting Iranian missiles than targeting Allied planes. Bernie?
Jamie, one quick question. Do intelligence experts believe this event signals a new, more provocative stance by Saddam Hussein?
Well, they're trying to puzzle over the evidence. At this point, they think it doesn't. But they'll be watching in the days ahead to see if there are any more aggressive moves. It could end up just being a blip in the relations between Iraq and the West.
Jamie McIntyre with the very latest from the Pentagon.
In Washington, a central figure in the investigation of President Clinton has faced independent counsel Ken Starr's grand jury for the first time. Linda Tripp, who secretly taped conversations with Monica Lewinsky, finished up a full day of testimony less than 2 hours ago. CNN's White House correspondent John King has more.
Linda Tripp's secret tapes were waiting inside the federal courthouse when the star witness in the Monica Lewinsky investigation arrived for her dramatic testimony. The former Lewinsky friend and co-worker testified for more than 5 hours Tuesday and is due back for another full day Thursday.
She told me, and I quote, "I find it very easy to truthfully answer the questions posed to me by the prosecutor and the grand jury."
Tripp introduced herself to the grand jury 5 months after her tapes introduced the world to allegations of a White House sex scandal involving the president and a young intern. Tripp spent more than 100 hours with prosecutors preparing for testimony that is critical to several avenues of independent counsel Ken Starr's investigation.
This is the first of the last major steps that Starr is going to take in completing his investigation. In addition to Linda Tripp, he's probably going to have Monica Lewinsky in the grand jury, assuming that an immunity arrangement can be reached with her.
If Lewinsky's lawyers can't broker an immunity deal, Tripp's tapes and testimony could be used as evidence for a Lewinsky indictment. Tripp recorded Lewinsky talking of a sexual relationship with the president, but both Lewinsky and Mr. Clinton have given sworn statements denying that. Tripp also says Lewinsky gave her written talking points outlining how she could protect the president if questioned as part of the Paula Jones sexual harassment lawsuit.
I think Ms. Tripp is crucial, certainly as to Monica Lewinsky, in building a case of Monica Lewinsky herself possibly obstructing justice.
Now Lewinsky is spending time with her father in California, but is well aware her one-time friend was before the grand jury. Asked how the former White House intern feels about Tripp and her tapes, a Lewinsky associate said, quote, "Pretty bitter. How would you feel?" Judy?
John, how is the White House dealing with all this while the president is over in China?
Judy, White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry, traveling with the president today, said he had no comment on Tripp's testimony and said that it certainly is not affecting the president's trip. Here at the White House, spokesman Jim Kennedy said, quote, "We will let the American people draw their own conclusions about Linda Tripp." The White House saying very little for now because it believes the public will react negatively to a woman who secretly recorded her friend and then took those tapes to prosecutors. But obviously some apprehension here because sources signaling that Tripp's testimony is a sign that the grand jury phase of the investigation is winding down. The independent counsel now faces some critical decisions in the days and weeks ahead. Bernie?
Okay, John King at the White House. And for some context on Tripp's testimony, we turn to CNN's justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, how lethal a witness is Linda Tripp to Monica Lewinsky?
Bernie, I think you have to think of Linda Tripp as a linchpin for Ken Starr's investigation. She can offer testimony that contradicts Monica Lewinsky's sworn affidavit that there was no sexual relationship with President Clinton. And then there's the question of whether Lewinsky tried to get Tripp to lie, and that becomes an issue of obstruction of justice.
And by extension, how lethal a witness is she to President Clinton?
Well, President Clinton swore to the same thing, that there was no sexual relationship. And if, from Ken Starr's perspective, if there was indeed sexual relationship, there's a reason for a cover-up, a reason to get people to try to get Lewinsky a job, a reason for to get people to try to get her to change her story as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, can these tapes be used as evidence?
We talked to a number of legal experts today, and they told us that those tapes are admissible, particularly tapes made by Tripp under the supervision of independent counsel Ken Starr.
Given Lewinsky's Washington super lawyers, is she more likely to cut a deal with Ken Starr?
Well, Bernie, the case began with very, very cordial relationships between Starr and the new team. Their style is much different from William Ginsburg in that they have not issued public attack after attack after attack on Ken Starr. But there's a touchy issue of how much will Monica Lewinsky testify to. Will she say everything that Ken Starr wants her to say? That's an open issue, and that's critical to the negotiations.
Thank you. Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas. And to our North American viewers, please stay with CNN for more on Linda Tripp's testimony. At 7:30 Eastern, in the crossfire, former Clinton counsel Lanny Davis and Tripp acquaintance Jonah Goldberg. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, hear from Linda Tripp's friend, New York book agent Lucienne Goldberg, on CNN's Larry King Live.
Transcripts of President Clinton's testimony in the Paula Jones sexual harassment lawsuit could soon be made public. The same Little Rock judge who threw out the case in April has ordered most of the documents in the case unsealed on July 13th. But both sides can appeal the move, and the president's attorneys are expected to do just that. There's much more ahead on WorldView. U.S. President Bill Clinton does talk radio Shanghai style. And one Chinese entrepreneur's fast lane to prosperity.
Hi, I'm Brad Friedel. If you've got a network to protect, you need APC power protection. Because you never know when a power surge is coming at you. And power problems cause nearly 50% of all data loss. APC protects more computers from more companies than anyone in the world. To protect your net, count on APC. I may miss a few, but they never do.
For a free World Cup poster, visit us on the web. Hole 3 of the Cooper Tire Invitational, a long par 10,000 from Seattle over the Continental Divide to Minneapolis. Our leader lying 7,012. Bill, how did he get there?
Well, Jim, Arnold's gotten through some rough terrain, thanks in part to his Cooper tires. Then that nice run, keeping it left along the Canadian border. Arnold, what's in store for the rest of the hole?
Gotta clear those giant heads. The Cooper tires will do the job. The world is your course. Drive on.
So how are we going to take advantage of this opportunity?
We'll need a new retail operation.
Right, and if we don't do it, someone else will. So it's got to happen fast. Up and running in 2 months.
And it's got to be global.
Global in 2 months with no sales force and no stores? That's impossible.
Not for EDS. In just 2 months, EDS helped the World Cup create a global internet store, so millions of fans can buy World Cup merchandise instantly. Now, what can EDS do for your business?
Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. At Crossfire, we know our left from our right. Lively debate with Bill Press and Pat Buchanan. Weeknights, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Wednesday on CNN Newsstand, the basketball superstar with a new home court advantage.
I'm all about the inner city.
Magic Johnson, scoring points from inner cities to corporate boardrooms.
This is not good business, it's great business.
Plus,
why should we pay $4,000 for being legally married?
An annual tax bill that punishes millions of married couples.
People have no idea how much this is really costing them.
Examining the marriage tax on CNN and Fortune. Wednesday 10, 9 Central on CNN.
Tonight on CNN's Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs. Hilton splits up its hand putting a bankroll on the hotel business while hedging its bets on the gambling industry. CEO Stephen Bollenblatt takes a look at the odds. Tonight, 6:30 Eastern on CNN.
It is already Wednesday morning in Shanghai, where United States President Clinton is preparing to meet with American business leaders. After that, he's scheduled to visit the city's stock exchange and have lunch with some young entrepreneurs. All this follows the president's appearance on Shanghai's most popular call-in radio program called Citizens and Society. CNN senior White House correspondent Wolf Blitzer reports.
As President Clinton continues his China journey, he's enjoying the sights of Shanghai, but more importantly, he's continuing to reach out to the Chinese people.
Everyone understands that there is a new China emerging in the world that is more prosperous, more open, and more dynamic.
And he's feeling more comfortable. Witness his freewheeling encounter with talk radio, Shanghai style.
I just want to hear from the questioners and have a conversation so that when it's over, perhaps both the American people and the people of China will understand each other better.
The questions ranged from substance to style with the help of an energetic interpreter.
How about we just start right here, okay?
Let's do it.
One caller wanted to know about China's efforts to ease the Asian financial crisis.
I believe that China has done a very good job in holding its currency stable and trying to be a force of stability during the Southeast Asian crisis.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Another caller wanted to know whether so-called soccer diplomacy could do for U.S. relations with Iran what ping-pong diplomacy in the early 1970s did for U.S. relations with China.
I think it could be possible.
And yet another caller wanted to know how Mr. Clinton kept in shape.
You seem to have a very nice figure, Mr. President. But
Mr. Clinton said he stopped jogging since his knee injury 18 months ago. He said he's now into the Stairmaster. And he offered this explanation for his passion for golf.
It's my favorite sport, even though it doesn't burn a lot of calories. It makes my mind calm.
Earlier at a roundtable with community leaders in Shanghai, he personally spelled out for the first time the so-called three-nose policy toward Taiwan.
We don't support independence for Taiwan or two Chinas or one Taiwan, one China, and we don't believe that Taiwan should be a membership in any organization for which statehood is a requirement.
That kind of talk will cause heartburn in Taiwan and among its supporters in the U.S. Congress. But on this day, the president was more anxious to please his Chinese hosts. Wolf Blitzer, CNN, Shanghai.
You know, among the young entrepreneurs Mr. Clinton is about to meet is a man who is turning the concept of communism on its head and making millions in the process. CNN's Andrea Koppel has his story.
Bowling has become one of China's fastest growing pastimes, opening yet another avenue for Chinese entrepreneurs to make money. Here at the Shanghai Zhonglu Industrial Company, for instance, over 1,100 workers are kept busy making equipment like these pin-setting machines. Business is booming. 3 years ago, owner Chun Rong invested $10 million into this factory. This year, he plans to sell about $20 million worth of equipment. He's already doubled his investment.
I wanted to do something nobody had done in China. I wanted a special challenge.
But Chun Rong's rags to riches success story didn't begin here. It began in 1990 with a $600 investment in what was then a brand new Chinese experiment called a stock market. Today, close to 20 million Chinese own shares in an estimated 400 publicly listed companies. But back in 1990, there were only 8 companies listed, and Chun Rong was a daring pioneer.
I believed the government definitely wanted some people to get rich. So the first day the Shanghai Security Exchange opened, I went in and bought stocks.
Call it the Midas touch. Within 4 years, Chun was worth 800 million renminbi, or $100 million, and became the owner of what he believes is China's only Rolls-Royce. That's about the same time Chun realized he needed a new challenge and decided to invest in bowling. He still owns more than $60 million worth of stocks, and for now, 40-year-old Chun Rong is definitely a man on a roll. Andrea Koppel, CNN, Shanghai.
What a story. Coming up on WorldView, fierce storms turn a number of counties in the Midwestern United States into disaster areas, and how powerful new drugs may allow people to live with HIV long term.
Can I get life insurance at my age, in my health?
I'd like to leave my loved ones with a little something when I'm gone, but I'm afraid I'm too old to get life insurance.
If you're like these nice folks and thought life insurance after 45 was impossible to get or impossible to afford, I've got good news. If you're 45 to 79, Physicians Life guarantees you up to $10,000 of permanent modified whole life insurance, designed to help your family with the expenses they will face. There's no medical exam, no health questions. You can buy this policy if you're 45 to 79 and you're insured for life. Just $1 pays for your first month of protection. After that, you can continue at an affordable monthly renewal rate that can never go up. Plus, your coverage can never be canceled no matter what your age or health. Easy to get and easy to afford. Now let me tell you why this protection is so important. All of us someday will leave behind expenses for our loved ones to pay. There's no escaping it. Those expenses can easily add up to thousands of dollars. You know, some people even expect the government to take care of these expenses. But the fact is, Social Security pays a death benefit of just $255, and only if you qualify. That's why I urge you to take a look at this plan. It's one sure and affordable way you can help leave your loved ones with dollars instead of debts. For all the details, just call the toll-free number to get this free information kit from Physicians Life. You get it directly by mail. There's no cost or obligation of any kind. You're just calling for information. This is one phone call your loved ones will be thankful for later. So call right now.
We're here when you need us. Physicians Life.
A moment of goodwill brought to you by Citgo, a proud sponsor of the 1998 Goodwill Games. The world's best athletes have to wait for July to face their challenge, but America has already responded to the Super Challenge.
all across the country, from small communities to big cities. By building on the success of local independent businesses, Citgo has grown surprisingly big. In fact, Citgo now has over 14,500 locations to serve you nationwide. That's more locations than any other company of any kind in America. Surprised? Don't be. Citgo. When it counts.
As part of the Goodwill Games mission to benefit children, TBS and Citgo set out to raise 1 million hours of volunteer time for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Before the games have even begun, the Super Challenge has reached its goal. TBS and Citgo would like to thank everyone who's made this Super Challenge a success.
Thousands of people in the eastern and midwestern United States are struggling to put their lives back together after a round of very severe storms. 5 tornadoes are now confirmed to have hit Iowa on Monday, and 9 inches of rain fell in parts of Ohio. Summer is turning into a disaster for parts of the nation's midsection. 13 counties in Iowa have been declared disaster areas a day after storms tore through the state. The storms generated hurricane-like winds, uprooted trees, flattened homes and farms, and even blew a train off its tracks in Iowa City. 500,000 customers lost power Monday. Tens of thousands are still without electricity. In Ohio, one resident floating back to his home said flooding wasn't the only danger.
4 guys come up to, wading up to the front of my house with cloth bags. And I don't know what their intentions were, but when they saw me, they turned around and left.
Several inches of water on roads made it easy for cars to hydroplane out of control.
Look out!
A CNN affiliate, WDTN, caught one car being hit and hit again. Amazingly, the couple in that car, they suffered only minor injuries.
In Geneva, the 12th World AIDS Conference is turning its attention to the developing world, home to some of the highest rates of HIV infection. Drug companies say they will work to provide poor countries with cheaper medicine to fight the disease. Meanwhile, new treatments are offering fresh hope that the disease may not be fatal. CNN's Al Hinman has more.
Mark King says he's living proof HIV no longer has to be an automatic death sentence.
I want to get on with my life. I want to get a life, and I don't want to be in this holding pattern of fear over what's going to happen next.
The latest research presented at the World AIDS Conference in Geneva bolsters the idea HIV may become a manageable chronic disease.
Most of the patients that have been exposed to HIV for many years now have the hope of what it was thought being impossible before. That is the possibility of reconstitute the immune system specifically against HIV.
Researchers got the best results with a combination of an old cancer drug, hydroxyurea, with common HIV drugs, DDI and D4T.
We can now show that with those drugs, we can induce the immune system to fight HIV back again. And therefore, the hope of managing the disease for a long time.
In the move to make it easier to live with HIV for the long term, some researchers thought it might be possible to wipe out all traces of the virus. But the latest research shows that even with novel new approaches to flushing out the virus, small reservoirs stubbornly remain in the body. But other new studies show it may be possible to live for years with the hidden pools intact.
If the immune system is preserved enough, it isn't destroyed, then your natural specific immunity against the virus may be able to suppress that pool almost indefinitely.
As more people live longer with HIV, Mark King's decided to help them learn to live again.
You can't live in this death mentality anymore.
He's launching a nationwide program called Reconstruction, offering counseling on living with HIV for a lifetime. Al Hinman, CNN, Geneva, Switzerland.
To soccer now. Bitter rivals England and Argentina played a bruising World Cup match on Tuesday in France. At the end of the game, Argentinian fans went wild when their team prevailed. The teams were tied 2-2 at the end of regulation play and 2 overtimes. Well, that brought it down to a penalty shootout, which left Argentina winning 4-3. In Tuesday's other game, Croatia beat Romania 1-0. Both Croatia and Argentina advanced to the quarterfinals.
Just ahead on WorldView, an original draft of the Declaration of Independence is going on display.
Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'd like to present
It pleases the court to declare a recess.
It happens every day at the same time. The wheels of justice grind to a halt. For the most lively look at the legal profession, on television, Burden of Proof, with Roger Cossack and Greta Van Susteren. It's a court date you wouldn't want to miss on CNN.
Tonight on CNN, it all starts at 6:30 when the Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs tells why Hilton Hotels is placing its bet on Grand Casinos. Then in the crossfire, Jonah Goldberg joins the debate over Linda Tripp's grand jury testimony. At 8, The World Today. At 9, it's Larry King Live. Linda Tripp testifies before the grand jury. What does her testimony mean to the president? At 10, national and international news on The World Today. That's all tonight on CNN.
Now get more news for your money. The Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs. Weeknights, 6:30 Eastern on CNN and CNN FM.
It's news.
When John Null of Lebanon suffered disabling injuries due to medical malpractice, the lawyers at Charlie Williams and Associates came to his aid.
I feel Charlie got me the best that I could get with my case. A better life than what I would have had if it hadn't been for Charlie Williams. Charlie cares.
Charlie Williams and Associates, caring lawyers, helping injured people. Call 242-2800.
The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency would like to remind you that no matter how you enjoy Tennessee waters this summer, wear your life jacket and boat smart from the start.
I'll be careful. Already nice sun, right? All that up.
Yeah. Early Edition with Donna Kelly and Leon Harris, 7 Eastern weekdays on CNN.
No progress reported in talks to end strikes at 2 Michigan auto parts plants. The walkouts have largely shut down General Motors North American vehicle production. GM says the strikes have costed almost $1.2 billion. The cost of mailing a letter in the United States is going up. The Postal Service says beginning early next year, it will cost 33 cents to send a first-class letter, up 1 penny. It will be the first postal rate hike in 4 years.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs in New York City. Lou, what are you working on?
Well, Bernie, as you've been reporting, a U.S. F-16 fired a missile today after an Iraqi missile site locked onto it with radar. We'll have that story for you. Linda Tripp, full day of testimony for her before a grand jury. We'll be updating on that as well as having White House reaction. And the NBA lockout, it begins at midnight tonight. I'll be talking with one of the most powerful sports agents in the business, David Falk. I'll also be joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Hilton Hotels, Stephen Bolenbach. All of that coming up, a lot more as well. Now back to you, Bernie.
Okay, thank you, Lou. We'll be watching. Museum goers will have a chance to read a handwritten draft of the Declaration of Independence this summer. One of 3 known surviving copies of Thomas Jefferson's original manuscript goes on display Wednesday at the museum in Arlington, Virginia. Historians say Jefferson wrote out 5 full copies of his unedited draft so that friends could see what the Continental Congress had changed.
And that's something I'd like to go look at.
Yep, very much so.
I'm Judy Woodruff.
I'm Bernard Shaw. Thanks very much for joining us.